in a few fights from now. You also got Anthony Smith versus Zhang Mingyang. Anthony Smith getting older, light heavyweight fight. Can he still get the job done? Well, we saw what he did against Petrino a few fights ago, so he's certainly capable of winning. But Mingyang is a solid fighter. And coming up next, you got Giga Chikadze taking on David Onama. Make sure you stay with us as we give you the full fight reactions for each of the big three. Next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is a TCMMA podcast, and it's going down UFC Kansas City. We had the perfect night going until the last fight. 10 straight. Abu Magomedov ruined it for us. But listen, no time to waste. We got to jump right into it, so let's tune it up. Here we go with the full fight reaction for Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. Big featherweight showdown, and here we go. No touch of the gloves. Onama sprints right to the center, takes control. Giga moving backwards. Giga number 12 in the featherweight division, so this is a big test for Onama. And these are tough fights for guys that are, on the low end of the top 15. They got to take on non-contenders and try to hold their spot. And we saw Mikel Pereira lose his spot in the previous fight against Abu Magomedov, so you never know what's going to happen. Onama landing a few leg kicks, trying to keep Giga off guard. And Onama's a solid fighter, right? Obviously, if you're getting to the point where you're fighting for a top 15 spot, you're doing well, you're winning fights. A lot of precision. He keeps his opponents off balance. And he's already doing that here with Giga. And really, both guys just feeling each other out. They're both utilizing the leg kicks, especially the straight leg kick. There's a leg kick up high by Giga. Both guys throw a leg kick and connect. And Onama taking a left and a right combo. And he's constantly switching his stance from lefty to righty. That's something to keep an eye on here, as he has that ability to do so. 90 seconds gone. And just a great night of action here at Kansas City. I mean, we've seen all types of finishes, even the fights that have gone to a decision. I mean, this is the 12th fight of the night, and even the fights that have gone to a decision have been excellent as well. Certainly several fight of the night candidates. A lot of guys potentially getting performance bonuses. But we'll have to wait and see what Dana White wants to do after this card. Nice left hook by Giga. Spinning back kick by Giga. Blocked by Onama. Then he lands a left. So Giga's starting to get in a little bit of a rhythm here. Onama standing left-handed right now. He tries to land a left leg kick. And he's starting to have problems with the distance. Giga's connecting, no problem with leg kicks. Combos, Onama's having a hard time feeling out the range. First round halfway gone, and a nice right by Onama. Got the attention of Giga for sure. Now he's pressuring. And Giga lands a right over the top, but Onama's still pressing forward. Ooh, nice left by Giga. Both these guys obviously very capable of getting a finish at any point in time, but both very good defensively as well. So you see a lot of this in the featherweight and lightweight divisions. Guys that can strike, guys that can land takedowns. The featherweight division's much like the lightweight division, just a little bit lighter. Onama switching his stance early on, but now he's standing lefty for the last 2 to 3 minutes, so seems to find some comfort on the left-handed stance. Now lands a nice left-right-left combo. Nice right by Giga, and Onama covers up. He's in a little bit of trouble here. He's in a little bit of trouble. He tries to grab on, and Giga's trying to do everything he can to get him off, and Onama lands not the takedown, but takes the back, and Giga trying to work the hands off, and there's a takedown. Wow. Wow. And there's some marks on the right leg of Giga. I don't know if those are from leg kicks or that's just how he normally looks, but man. Onama look for the arm triangle now. Giga trying to protect himself by keeping Onama pulled down, and there's a tap, and this round's basically over. So round one comes to an end, and we got some action, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to get to hear what the corners say. So as we go forward, next big fight coming up next. So stay tuned with us. I mean, Anthony Smith versus Zhang Mingyang. Anthony Smith walking in with both of his daughters. Could this potentially be the last fight of his career? I mean, we're not hearing anything like that. I don't believe. But when you bring the kids, you know, that means something. It's like you want the kids to have those memories. And if you're going out, you definitely want them to see your last fight. So I don't know if that's the plan or not, but we'll see. All right, so let me take a peek at the stats here while we got a second. Usually we get to hear what the corner says, but not when it's a fight night, so a little bit different. Round one, Giga 23-10 in significant strikes, 13-7 in head strikes, 27-11 total. So he's obviously leading the fight by winning round one. So he's up 1-0. Round two is underway. Onama starting the round with a straight leg kick. Standing left-handed, nearly misses with the big left. Fans beginning to chant, "Let's go, David." You've heard the tomahawk chop tonight. As the fans in Kansas City, you already know the Chiefs. .420 left in round two. Onama backs off and lands another straight leg kick. So he's doing a good job with the leg kicks. For sure. And it's starting to keep Giga a little bit off balance. Giga goes right back to the right jab. And he backs off. Both guys standing lefty. Now Giga switches to righty. And a nice right by Giga. Spinning back elbow nearly lands for Giga. And neither guy really landing a lot, but it's Giga who's just landing a little bit more, as you heard the stats after round one. We'll see if he can keep that up. Onama's got to get his foot on the gas pedal right now, as he can definitely not afford to go down 2-0. And a nice right over the top by Giga. And the crowd getting a little quiet. You can hear people yelling in the audience random things, and that's because the fans are so used to seeing big things tonight. And there's a takedown by Onama. The crowd likes that. Giga's got his back up against the fence. Onama's going to try to pull him away. Now Onama working his way up the body. Giga's in bad shape here. Onama's going to be able to keep him to the ground, goes to side control. Onama's no stranger to landing submissions, but it's just tougher against a guy like Giga. That's for sure. Halfway through round 2. Arm triangle potential here. Now Giga shoves him off. 2 minutes left in a round. Onama's providing the pressure. He's doing a great job on the ground and really slowing this fight down, right? I mean, this is a way you're gonna have to beat Giga in this fight. And sometimes it takes guys a round to figure it out. Well, Onama, with the ground game, is trying to take round 2. And if he can keep Giga on the ground for the next minute and a half, he's likely going to get this round. Now Giga goes up the back. That's not a good idea. Oh boy. Oh, nearly had the rear. And Onama just doing an excellent job on the ground. One minute to go in the round. And if it stays this way, it's going to be a very interesting round 3. Because Giga doing a little bit better of a job in round 1 on the feet. But Onama is clearly saying, I'm going to win this fight on the ground. I'm just going to drain this clock and beat you on the ground as he lands a right elbow. He's trying to get to the full mount. He can't. Giga isn't showing anything that would lead you to believe he's going to get out of this. So this is where David Onama wants to be. He's going to want to be here for the rest of the fight. And we'll see if Giga makes it tough for him in the 3rd round. 25 seconds left on the clock. And he's going to be over 3 minutes of control time in this round. So he's winning this round, that's for sure. And man, I hope they keep it here for the... I want to hear what the coaches say in the corner, because what do you tell Giga? And that'll do it for round 2. We're going to a 3rd and decisive round. They are cutting to commercial, so we will not be able to hear what they say in the corners. So let's make it up, right? In David Onama's corner, it's real simple if you're the coach or manager. You're saying, hey, do exactly what you did in round 2. Take this fight to the ground. Giga can't deal with you on the ground. He's showing no signs of getting up, and you're controlling the heck out of him. So that's simple. Now, if you're Giga, it's a little bit more tricky, because obviously you want to do the opposite, right? You want to keep this fight standing. You don't have a major advantage on the feet, but looking at round 1, you definitely have an advantage. So, you got to defend takedowns at all costs. David Onama's definitely coming in for the takedowns, and you got to keep this fight standing. And even then, it's not a guarantee, but it's highly likely that if you can keep this fight standing in the 3rd round, you win the fight. It's most definitely 1-1. It better be on all 3 judges' scorecards. But it won't matter, really, if either of these 2 guys dominate this round. Round 3's underway. Here we go. Nice right by Giga to start. Both guys stand in opposite stance now, so those power punches are far back. You got to really time it up. The jabs become very, very important. And Onama's not rushing the takedown, which is very smart. He lands a big left. Giga responds with a right. Onama responds with a left. And a nice leg kick up top. And a right by Giga. Oh, a nice right by Giga. Look out, Onama. He's trying to time it up perfect, right? He doesn't want to rush the takedown, but he's got to get the takedown. That's the bottom line. So both guys moving well, but the problem is they're moving into each other because they're opposite stance, and a nice left-right combo by Onama. And both guys trade lefts. Wow. And the good thing you're seeing here around 3 is both guys recognize that they need to have a sense of urgency. Nice leg kick by Giga, followed by a left. And Giga just too fast. Ooh, you don't see that every day. A straight up leg kick. Way over his head for Giga. Didn't land it, but under 3 minutes. And no sign of Onama even attempting a takedown. See, this is what doesn't make any sense. Like, if I'm his coach, I'm screaming right now. Get this fight to the ground. Because now even if you get it to the ground, you give Giga a half a round of work on the feet. It makes it very close. Giga's really opening up now. Landing enough leg kicks to keep Onama off balance. Smart. Halfway through round 3, both guys headbutt. Wow. And David Onama went in for the takedown, and both guys just clashed. And we'll see if it has an effect on this fight. But Onama's got the fight to the ground. That's where he wants it. But now it's not going to be for 3.5 minutes, right? It's going to be potentially for the last 2. So he's got to get some work in on the ground. Just the takedown alone, I don't think wins the fight here in the 3rd round. I think Giga did enough on the feet in the first 3 minutes. It wasn't like overwhelming, but when they're on the feet, Giga's outpacing them. The problem is Giga's shown no signs of getting up once he's taken down. And you can't just remain here for the rest of the fight. Now Nama looks to take the back. He's got it. Oh boy. Oh. And he's going to slide off top. No, he doesn't. Goes to a full mount almost. Yep. Now full guard by Giga just in time. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be 45 seconds left in the fight. If it goes to a decision, it's going to be a very interesting decision. I mean, Giga won round 1. Onama won round 2. Round 3 still up for grabs. Onama's doing a little bit on top, but not a lot. Give him credit for the takedown. But oftentimes the judges are going to judge the fight based on strikes. I mean, we just saw a fight last week when the guy had like 12 minutes of control time in a 15-minute fight, and he still lost. So you just never know. But this is looking good for Onama, finishing on top. Boy, what a sense of urgency for Onama at the end. He's pumped up. I don't know. This is as bad. Just watching it, I'm going to look at the stats here now, but just watching it, this is one of the closest fights you'll ever see. Yep. Significant strikes, 44 to 42 for Onama. Head strikes, 28-26 for Giga. So almost even. The difference is Onama has 6:15 of control to 0 for Giga, 3 takedowns. And again, if you're in a point system and you're looking at this, everything is even, and you got 3 takedowns and 6 minutes of control time, Onama wins the fight. But you got judges involved, and when there's judges involved, anything can happen. As soon as we get this decision, obviously, we'll give it to you. We're going to head to a quick break. And when we come back, it's Anthony Smith for Zhang Mingyang. You'll get, you will hear the the preview and the prediction ahead of the fight. And it's just interesting because Anthony Smith's getting older, but when you see him beat Vitor Petrino the way he did a few fights ago, the guy's capable of anything. Absolutely anything. And here we go. We're moments away from the decision. Coming into this fight, Onama was more than a 2-1 favorite. This fight was much closer than that. And you look and you say, how's he 2-1 favorite when Giga's ranked in the top 15? You know, Giga's always a tough out. Here we go. Here we go. All three. Unanimous. 29-28. Probably Onama. David Onama gets the win. 11-1 on the night for us. We'll take it. And David Onama gets a crucial victory to move to 14-2 here. Featherweight division. UFC. Kansas City. All right, so check this out. We're coming right back. Stay tuned for Anthony Smith for Zhang Mingyang. Let's go ahead and pull it up. There it is. We'll be right back after this. TDP versus Khamzat Chimaev back on for UFC 317. That's the talk today. I can't believe it either. I cannot believe it. So if this is true, nothing official yet, but if this is true, that means we were duped, right? We were tricked. We believed it. This happens about 3 times a year. And in MMA, it could easily happen 100 times a year. Please believe it. But the bottom line is that DDP, Dricus du Plessis, is saying, I'm not injured really. I was just watching and having a good old laugh, more or less. So he says on Instagram, okay, so everyone had their opinions and rumors and stories about the shin and injuries, etc. I found it all very entertaining. Unfortunately, none of this is true. Myself and UFC already discussed a fight date and opponent. The June fight was never signed. I did not pull out of any fight. I am the champion. I know when I fight, you as a contender just show up when we tell you to. Fight announcement coming soon. So that's what DDP is saying. So the whole time, us, hundreds of other news outlets, if not more, are believing the first report, right? Because there's one report, then there's nothing for a while. And I'm kind of waiting on this to see what happens, and then boom, everybody starts reporting on it. I'm like, uh-oh, this fight's on hold. But it turns out the fight might still be on hold. It might not be at UFC 317. We just don't know yet because we got all these tricks and games going on, and nobody really wants to tell you anything. It's like it's all done on purpose, which behind the scenes, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. But the bottom line is these guys are going to fight, I believe. Can you imagine if they come out and say that Khamzat's not fighting for the title? I have to be the first to tell you, I would not be surprised. But I think every time that they deny it, the outrage gets louder and louder. So I think you have to do it now. Who else is there? Right? Who else is there? You're going to give it to a Mavov or a Mavov? You don't know who I'm talking about? That's Nazardine Amavov? I don't think so. Let Khamzat go beat DDP and then bring on Amavov. And then bring on whoever you got after that. Okay? And when Khamzat goes up to light heavyweight, I don't want anybody coming out and saying, oh, he's got to earn his stripes. He's got to get his fights in. No. That man is going right for the light heavyweight title. And I think at that point, the UFC doesn't slow him down. For some reason, they're slowing down Ilia Topuria, though. They're slowing down Ilia Topuria. At least it appears that way. But wouldn't it make sense that let's just rock and roll on International Fight Week in June? I know with the UFC scheduling, it's very tricky because If you're the UFC, you just love to just roll the dice and throw everything at one of these big events. Let's say June 28th, UFC 317. Isn't it in California? I'm pretty sure it's in California as well. Let me just make sure. But the bottom line is it just throw them in there, throw in Islam versus Topuria, just go crazy. Oh no, it's at the T-Mobile Arena. Okay, so it's in Vegas. All right, so you would love on International Fight Week to just roll the dice, throw everything in there, but then you suffer at the net. Then you suffer at 318, 319, 320, and maybe not immediately. Maybe it's actually 320 to 322. You start to struggle because if you throw a bunch of people in now, they're not going to be fighting for 6, 7, 8 months. So that's just the way it goes. And you only have, 11 divisions to play with. So if you put 2 title fights on every card, you need these guys to fight like almost every 5 months, 6 months. And that doesn't happen. John Jones isn't fighting every 6 months. Islam Makhachev could, Makachev could. DDP, probably not. Magomed Ankalaev seems like he's ready to roll against Pereira, so maybe he's game for now. Pantoja in the flyweight, we'll see. Dvalishvili and O'Malley are already scheduled. So some of these guys like to bang. They like to rock and roll. But you don't have that from all the divisions, so you can't throw in a bunch of fights on one card. You could, but then it hurts you later because you're going to have to rely on somebody making a quick turnaround, being a good sport. We need you to fight in 4 months, right? Or even worse, someone drops out, and then someone's coming in on really short notice, and we've seen it before. But usually you can rely on the champions, and I'm glad that DDP is good because my first thought when they announced that, or when they started coming up over the weekend, is it's like, yeah, DDP is out. It stings because Hamza has to wait, but we've been going through this for 3 years, right? I think he's had 3 fights in 3, 4 years, 3 canceled fights for whatever reason. Now this one could be canceled, so you're thinking, okay, we're going to have to go through all this, it looks like. But it turns out we're not. We're not. And I was just worried that DDP, not so much that we'll have to wait because I'm kind of like we're used to that, but if he's hurt, then he recovers and then fights Hamza and he doesn't win, then everyone's going to say now, oh, he was hurt and didn't really recover. There's always going to be an excuse. So I'm glad. Listen, as a Hamza fan, okay, not only am I glad he's fighting sooner, but I'm especially glad that DDP is going to be 100%. I'm glad that this guy's going to be 100% because that's exactly how we want him. We want him at 100%. So when we beat him, no excuses. And I say we because me in a lot of fights, I tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you who I think's going to win, all this other stuff. But with Hamza, I'm telling you what I know. I know he's going to win. And yeah, it's scary on fight night because if he doesn't, then hey. But we've been rocking and rolling with Hamza since the beginning. I don't care how long we have to wait. When he finally gets it done, there's going to be a big celebration. And then it's all about what can you do next in as quick a time as possible because you're 30 now, you got 4 years, you got 5 years. That's what you got. Especially if you're in there right now at 30. You got 3, 4, 5 years. You can't be messing around with time going forward because it's going to pass you by real quick. So I think he gets the belt, and then we'll see what happens from there. But I'm glad, first and foremost, that DDP is going to be 100% for this fight. That's what's happening. That's it. That's all that matters. Hamza versus DDP at 317 or somewhere close. But don't be surprised if they pull the rug out from under us. I'm just telling you. I know you think I'm crazy. And hopefully the fight happens because I'll be cheering just like you. But don't be surprised if they snatch the rug out from under us. and all of a sudden they say like DDP versus Amavov or something like that. Or maybe they're having, another small side note is Hamza having trouble getting in the country? We've never gotten that confirmed. It's in Vegas. You would think the UFC would have come out I mean, I guess when we get the fight announcement, that kind of confirms it, right? But at the same time, you would think we would get something to chew on and something to just a blanket statement that Hamza is free to enter the country. Okay, we haven't gotten that yet, and until we get that, how are we going to get a fight? So maybe it's just going to be thrown on us. We have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. Or throwing some stuff out to get us to look over here when really over here everything is happening. I don't know. But everybody wants to see DDP versus Hamza. To me, that's the best fight in the UFC right now. And it's a fight that they need to make happen as soon as physically possible. That's the bottom line. But that's what we got for now. We'll see if it happens. We'll be back to report one way or another. You best believe it. Now in the light heavyweight division, we got a struggling Anthony Smith, who's really trying to get to 40 wins, taking on a tough Chinese fighter. We got a couple of these fights on this card, so you already know which way the crowd's going to be. But Zhang Mingyang, 18-6, this guy is for real. And Anthony Smith has struggled. So let's dive right into this one right now. In the light heavyweight division at UFC at Kansas City, this is your co-main event. You got Anthony Smith taking on Zhang Mingyang, an up-and-coming Chinese fighter who's 18-6. Anthony Smith has been in the game for a while, as you know. He's 38-21 and a huge underdog in this fight. Smith is 2 inches taller at 6'4". He's 36. Mingyang 26. So that's one advantage that Smith has. I mean, obviously it's not an advantage to be older, but he has the experience. Mingyang is just getting better every time we see him, though. So that's a problem for Anthony Smith. Both guys equal reach at 76 inches. Both guys stand right-handed. Mingyang so far 8.6 significant strikes per minute to 3.2 for Anthony Smith, and neither guy really looking to get takedowns. I mean, Anthony Smith over his long career gets one takedown like every 7 rounds. So don't expect any takedowns from Anthony Smith. Now he's lost back-to-back fights to Roman Dolce by decision, got dominated on the feet against Dominic Reyes by KO, got dominated on the feet, so he's really slowing down. But he did beat Vitor Petrino, which was a surprising win, and that was by submission, right? Vitor took him down and ended up getting submitted. So I'm sure Vitor would like to have that fight back. He also lost to Khalil Roundtree Jr. by 3rd round KO, which isn't surprising considering how good Khalil ended up doing against Alex Pereira for the title. So he's lost 3 of the last 4 and really struggling. Mingyang, on the other hand, hasn't lost in the UFC. He beat Tuco Tokos at Road to UFC by KO, then Brenson Ribeiro by 1st round KO, and Ozzy Diaz 1st round KO. So this one's simple. I mean, Anthony Smith is slowing down. A part of me thought he retired. I don't know why I thought that way. I thought he announced his retirement after the last fight, but that was a little while ago, so it's hard to remember. But if he did, since he didn't do it after the last fight, he's probably going to do it after this fight. I mean, Anthony Smith is getting close to the end. You're looking at this is his 60th fight, so that might be meaningful. He's also probably trying to get to 40 professional MMA victories, but how long is that going to take? This is just not going to go well for Anthony Smith. I expect a quick finish here by Mingyang, either late in the 1st round or early 2nd round via KO or really TKO, because the fight will have to be stopped by the ref. That's just my opinion. Mingyang is too much. He gets to win to move to 19-6 here, light heavyweight division, co-main event at UFC Kansas City. Yeah, so I mean, listen, Anthony Smith is struggling, and he's this guy's going to be an announcer. He's got something else to fall back on. So, when you're getting to that point in your life when it's like, when you're an up and coming fighter, it's like, this is all you got. It's just a whole different level. And now you're in a position where, okay, when fighting's over, you already got another job lined up as a commentator, maybe an announcer in the future, who knows? And it's just not the same Anthony Smith as it used to be, the hunger. And a lot of that is because he's getting older too. So, that's a situation here. And therefore, that's our prediction.
You're watching the TCMMA podcast. And now, back to your host, Chris Cross.
What up? It's your boy Chris Cross, checking back in. We are live, UFC, Kansas City. It's going down in the chat room, going back and forth with at 49ers faithful forever. By the way, how'd the 49ers do in the draft? I have no idea. I know my Dolphins got some big interior linemen. Very excited about that. Disappointed though, as I'm sure everyone in the league is, unless you're the Jacksonville Jaguars who traded up to get the man. Right? I was hoping the Dolphins would do that, but they didn't. But nonetheless, we got UFC going down. UFC Kansas City. Right now, Anthony Smith making his way to the octagon. And, this is USA versus China. So you already know the crowd's going to get hype for Anthony Smith. This is the retirement fight. Dustin Poirier's retirement fight coming soon against Max Holloway. That news broke this week. And we're going to miss two great competitors in the UFC, that's for sure. Here comes Anthony Smith. He's getting checked in just outside the octagon. And then this fight will be on and popping. So stay with us here. We got two big fights left. I don't see an avenue that this fight goes a distance. So I'm expecting a quick finish one way or the other. And you got to wonder, does the UFC know something we don't? Because I got Zhang Mingyang winning this fight. But of course, I'm nervous that it's the retirement fight for Anthony Smith, right? He's going to be all pumped up. Nobody wants to go out a loser. Remember what Robbie Lawler did in his final fight? And you go in there and you get like a big KO finish, and you're wondering, do I really want to retire? But Anthony Smith has another career, right? He's a commentator. He's going to keep working for the UFC. He's going to keep making money. So we see here 1 of 8 fighters in UFC history with KOs by 4 different strike types. Interesting. Punch, kick, knee, and elbow. Finished 34 of 38 wins, 19 KOs, 15 submissions. That's ridiculous. And you remember the big submission over Vitor Petrino. That really surprised me. To me, he got lucky. But at the end of the day, he won that fight against a very good fighter. So Anthony Smith checking into the octagon, doing the big stomp in the middle. And he looks pumped up for his retirement fight. Plus, he's got his kids there. I mean, this is a fight that he desperately wants to win. And he's going over and giving a hug to Bruce Buffer, letting him know he's probably thankful for him. And Bruce Buffer's about to go off when he says Anthony Smith's name. That's for sure. The Lionheart, we'll never see him again. You go back 4 or 5 years ago. He was a high-level light heavyweight fighter. But age gets the best of all of us, that's for sure. And, he's 36 years old. That's not like old. But in the fight game, that's like when you start rounding that corner. But it seems like Anthony Smith's been rounding that corner since about 33, but especially 34, 35 over the last 2 years. He got that big win over Petrino at that age. But, other than that, he's just struggled over the last 5 to 6 fights for sure. He just looked like an older, much slower fighter. But we'll see if he can get the job done here against Zhang Mingyang, who's good but not great. And with all, I hate to bring politics into it. We're not going to go too far, but with all the politics right now, and you got USA versus China with the American in his final fight, even though that's not my pick, I'd be crazy if I didn't root for Anthony Smith to win this fight. Plus, we're 11-1 on the night. Perfect night is over. 11-2 don't sound too bad. Let's go Anthony Smith. And here we go, the crowd getting pumped. And you're going to hear USA chants all through this fight. Anthony Smith, a 3-1 underdog, 6-8 as a UFC dog. And you can see the nerves are running high. He's pacing back and forth. He can't stand still. Lionheart, let's go. Let's go, Lionheart. Let's get the job done tonight, baby. I don't mind being wrong once in a while. Not always, but once in a while is not too bad. All right, so here we go. Let's tune this thing up. Here we are, Anthony Smith, Zhang Mingyang, full fight reaction at UFC Kansas City. We're here until this fight comes to an end. So let's get to it. Anthony Smith pacing back and forth, staring down his opponent. Crowd's already chanting USA, no touch of gloves. And here we go. Leg kick already by Zhang. Another leg kick. And what we've seen at times here over the last 2 years is when someone pours it on Anthony Smith, he kind of covers up, and that's the fight. So leg kick's already a problem. Anthony Smith with a big right hand. Yeah, those leg kicks are going to be a problem. He can't stand there and take leg kicks. And he's already throwing big and reckless, so he doesn't like those leg kicks at all from Zhang. He's already got that lead leg up in the air constantly. Yeah, and the leg kicks by Zhang are going to be a problem. Crowd still chanting USA. Anthony Smith grabs Zhang. Now he ties him up in the fence. A nice knee by Zhang, another one. And this is just a tough fight for Anthony Smith because in a normal setting, you start getting beat, maybe you cover up and live to fight another day, but there is no other day for Anthony Smith. He's going to give it his all. The crowd desperately wants to see another American win tonight, that's for sure. Lots of USA chants throughout the night. 3:30 left here in round one. And right now, Zhang is getting the better of Anthony Smith. Those leg kicks are just causing major problems. And a nice elbow there by Smith. Nice right by Smith. Okay. And another elbow. Oh boy. Those elbows by Zhang are causing major problems. Anthony Smith taking too many elbows and too many leg kicks. And already he's covering up. He's having trouble seeing. This is a rough start for Anthony Smith in the retirement fight. And these elbows are just landing all in the same spot. It's not going to be long, I'm telling you right now. Anthony Smith's already covering up. Now he shoots in for a takedown. That's what he's got to do here. And Zhang doing a good job. And Zhang looking at someone's corner and telling him to be quiet. Might be Anthony Smith's corner. Anthony tries to get up. He takes a right. Ooh, he almost landed a leg kick with Anthony Smith down. The ref said he's down, and he pulled the leg kick. Yeah, and Anthony Smith is just looking like he's not in good shape here. I'll be surprised if he gets out of this round. And Zhang just pouring it on. Anthony Smith goes to the back. And Zhang pounding away. And Anthony Smith trying to keep this fight alive, but he just doesn't look, the body language here does not look good. And man, this is one reason you don't bring the kids to the fight. Oh my goodness. Because right now, Zhang is just pouring it on. The ref's going to have to stop this thing soon. Yep. The ref don't want to stop it, but he's going to have to. Zhang Mingyang gets the win via TKO, and that did not take long. And you saw a little desperation from Anthony Smith moments ago. Wow. Terrible way to go out for Anthony Smith, but at the same time, it was clearly not going his way. And the ref gave him multiple warnings, did not want to step in, right? He knows it's the ref don't want to step in, but he had to. That's the bottom line. So Anthony Smith goes down in the retirement fight via TKO in the first round. Credit Zhang Mingyang for getting the win here. Light heavyweight division, UFC, Kansas City. Yeah, so just a rough way for Anthony Smith to go out, man. Just a rough way to go out. And the crowd showing its appreciation. They're on their feet trying to support Anthony Smith. But he's obviously disappointed. That's not the way he wanted to go out. But it is what it is. But listen, the reason we're all here anyway is to see Ian Machado Garry relatively short notice, like a few weeks, against the Brazilian Carlos Prates. That's coming up next. Won't be long. Be right back after this. Number one story, if it's true, there's a report by multiple outlets being reported by, and forgive me if I mess up the name, Kevin Ioli, right, reporter, is saying Dricus du Plessis may be injured, and that'll nix his title fight with Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 317, and they're going to need a new main event. More on that in a second. But if true, this is a terrible, terrible setback again for Khamzat Chimaev, who it seems like every time he's about to fight, there's another major setback. I mean, you can go all the way back to 2020 in all the setbacks with Leon Edwards. That fight never happened. Then the Robert Whittaker, Ikram Maliskarov had to step in, then Khamzat comes back and ends up beating him. So Khamzat keeps winning. He's 14-0. He's the future of the middleweight division, maybe the light heavyweight, but he just can't seem to get over the finish line. I mean, it's just setback after setback, and this time it's not even his fault. But as Khamzat fans, to be honest, you're not going to hear a lot of rumblings from Khamzat Chimaev fans because we're used to it at this point. Even though it's not his fault, we're just used to the setbacks. And, if this fight gets pushed to later in the year, October, November, December, it's like, fine, it is what it is. It is what it is. The bottom line is Khamzat and DDP are going to fight at some point. It doesn't look good for this summer, and Khamzat is going to win the middleweight title, so everybody just relax. All right? And some of you aren't even hearing this yet because it's slowly coming out, right? Some media outlets don't want to report this until they know for sure that DDP is injured. So, more to come on this story, but that's the report, and we'll see if it's 100% true. And if it is, you wouldn't expect the UFC to come out real quick because now they have to find another main event. And as UFC 315 approaches in about 2 or 3 weeks, they don't have much time. And really, there's only two options: lightweight and heavyweight. That will be Islam Makhachev coming back on relatively quick turnaround for a champion, right? Because he just fought in January when he dusted off Renato Moicano, who had to be submitted or exchanged or substituted, whatever word you want to use, for Arman Sarukian. Then now you bring either Charles Oliveira or Ilia Topuria back into the fray. I don't see them getting the heavyweight done this quick. I don't see, it is still 3 months. It'll be, 2 months. June 28th. It's already, late April. So you got 2 months to prepare for that fight. And that's going to be when you prepare for the middleweight division and now you got to go to another division, those fighters need time to get ready. And I'm sure there's a lot of calls being made and things trying to be settled before this news really breaks. But that's what's coming down the line is that DDP and Hamza are delayed. Won't happen at UFC 317. Now, as we jump into uh, the Q&A, uh, let's see, Imus Goldie, I believe, says your picks are terrible. You're wrong with, you should say, Fioro and Silva as well. Shevchenko and Grasso are winning, and that's very possible. And I like to see someone get hardcore about the women's fighting, right? For sure. And you see the next one, uh, Mo Larry Curley. Thanks for these posts. Your work ethic is amazing. So, and this is why a lot of people don't read the comments, right? I mean, on the first one, you could think it's all over, and in the second one, someone saying, "Hey, great job." So this is the difference of comments, and a good way to start the Q&A. Goldie's back. Natalia kicks in boxing range. There's a lot of holes in Silva's striking for a boxer like Grasso. Grasso will win by crowding the kicker. Grasso has really good boxing with power. So, and again, it's exciting to see someone get excited about the women's fights. And Natalia Silva is a very good fighter. Grasso is very good too. And I get what you're saying because Grasso is just coming off title fights. And could all of a sudden Natalia Silva just come in here and beat her when she's, that high level? So I understand what you're saying, but I'm still sticking with Natalia Silva to get the win. And it wouldn't be the first time that someone disagreed with me. That's the fight game. We all disagree on almost everything. Robert weighs in on Topuria. Even the champ should have to work their way through the division they move up to, just like everyone else in that division. And I'm not so sure I agree with that. Precedent has been set in the past, and yes, depth is on a different level. But Volkanovski didn't have to wait in line. Who did Volkanovski fight before he fought Makhachev? Or maybe he did fight someone. I can't remember. But it seems like Volkanovski's getting a path right to the title, and then a second chance. And he beat Volkanovski. So who's to say Topuria can't win? And now we might be seeing that fight because the UFC is going to need something to sell at 317. Makhachev will sell, but we don't want to see him fight Renato Moicano again. You understand what I'm saying? Brian weighs in on the best division in the UFC. It's a poll we got going now. You got to get involved in this. It's only round one. He said none of these choices. And the way we did it is we cut the 13 divisions into 3 different polls, 4, 4, and 3, I believe, or 11 divisions. And the top 2 advance. So we'll be heading into round 2 this week at some point. And in the past, a lightweight has always been up there. Welterweight has always been second, or one time it was first. And right now it's on the brink of not making it to round or out of the first round. So what are people thinking about the welterweight? Make sure you get involved in those polls so as we go forward, you don't say, hey, I don't like any of these divisions that are in the final. Now's the time to get your votes in. Moving forward, looking at Benoit Saint Denis and Joe Alvarez, a loss against Moicano is a doctor stoppage before round 3. And BSD won round 2. It's not really a TKO. I mean, officially it's listed as a TKO doctor stoppage. So we're going to have to get MMA as a whole to change it if the doctor comes in, but it has to be labeled some way to the fight is a finish. It's not a decision. Goldie's back. Shevchenko is taking over France next month. So big on Grasso and Shevchenko. And I like it, Goldie. Keep weighing in and keep getting on me if you disagree with the picks. I understand. I just want to, sometimes it's hope. I want to see a change in these women's divisions. I want to see some new fighters coming up. And Ryan says, great video. I definitely believe that Kayla Harrison will get the victory on UFC 316. I think so too. And then she fights Nunes. This is why Nunes is already coming back. Because there's already a fear here that Kayla Harrison is going to come in and take over and not be beat for a long time. And while Nunes is young enough, she wants that big fight. That's a money fight too. But it's also a title fight. So what does this mean? in terms of the UFC is officially a free agent. It means that the exclusive window with ESPN is over. The UFC is free to negotiate with anybody, and it's anyone's guess who they're going to sign with. I mean, it's anyone's guess who the UFC is going to sign with for the future of UFC rights. And I don't know which way it's going to go. But yeah, the UFC is a free agent right now. And hopefully this week or in the coming weeks, we get some further information. I mean, is the UFC leaving ESPN? That's what everybody wants to know. Now, as we dive into the main event, this is a big one. When it was announced, we jumped on it. And Machado Garry taking this fight on relatively short notice, couple weeks notice, against a highly skilled Carlos Prates. And he better be ready if he wants to win this fight. Let's jump into it right now. In the welterweight division at UFC Kansas City, your main event. Stepping up on short notice, you got Ian Machado Garry from Ireland, 15-1, taking on the Brazilian. Oh boy, Carlos Prates, who's on a roll. He's 21-6. So both guys at this point veterans of the game. Now Gary's 2 inches taller at 6'3". He's 27. Prates 31. Prates 3-inch reach advantage. He's a switch stance fighter, so that'll be interesting to see how Garry handles that. It's always an advantage. Garry stands right-handed. Both guys right about 4.5 significant strikes per minute. Both guys aren't really big takedown specialists. Garry gets one like every 4 rounds. Prates gets one like every 7 or 8 rounds. So you may not see any takedowns in this one, especially when Ian Garry has a 73% takedown defense, Prates 91%. So this is going to be a stand-up striking affair. Now, Garry lost his first fight last time out, but it was by decision. He actually outstruck Shavkat 42-37, had 2 submission attempts, but was taken down twice compared to the 1 takedown he had. This is over 5 rounds, so not a lot of output in that fight, and he ended up getting the loss because of it. But before that, he ran off, 8 straight wins against guys like Michael Venom Page, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny. He KO'd D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez, and Song Keenan. Now, Carlos Prates, on the other hand, is on a 5-fight win streak, at least in the UFC. It could extend beyond that. The big thing is that they're all by KO, starting at the Contender Series against Mitch Ramirez, then Trevin Giles, Charles Radke, Li Jingliang, Neil Magny. So they both beat Neil Magny in dominant fashion. Garry 91-27 in significant strikes, 2 takedowns, couldn't get the finish. Carlos Prates did. Now, this is going to be a tough fight for both guys, but I'm going to lean towards Ian Garry. Here's why. The guy is proven. He only has 1 loss against a really good fighter. Nothing against Carlos Prates, who's going to be a very tough opponent. And as I always say, don't invite Brazil to the party, right? You don't want to be fighting a Brazilian with such high stakes, but that's exactly what Ian Garry is doing because that's how he's built. He's built tough. That he knows this is a fight that he has to win. There will be no excuses that the fight was taken on short notice after the fact. He knows that. He will not use that as an excuse. But he's coming in to win, and he still has 2 weeks to prepare. So right now, this week, right now, and next week are huge weeks because it's not fight week yet. So you still got 10 days of hardcore training. You're already training, but 10 days of hardcore training before you got to start cutting weight and slowing down and getting ready for the fight. So I think Ian Garry can get the job done. Is it going to be the best Ian Garry we ever seen? I say yes, because he's only 27 years old. Forget the short notice. He's at that age, entering the prime window, where he's going to get better and better every time you see him, and he's already looked good. So I just feel like he's going to come in and win this fight because there's such high stakes on it. So look for Ian Garry to get the win, mainly on significant strikes. He may have a takedown or 2, but where Carlos Prates has such good takedown defense at 91%, that's going to be few and far between and very difficult. But I think Ian Garry's still better on the feet, even though we've seen Prates basically KO everybody. I'm saying that because it's just different when you're in there with Ian Garry. He's going to slow you down. Look what he did to Shavkat. Held in the 47 significant strikes over 5 rounds. That's like 8 or 9 per round. So that's what he does. So Ian Garry, in my opinion, gets the win by decision, 5 rounds. It's a big fight on short notice for sure. But he'll get the win in Missouri, in Kansas City. Crowd will go crazy. Ian Garry moves to 16-1 here welterweight division, UFC, Kansas City. Yeah, so we got Ian Garry winning what should be a highly entertaining fight in the main event at Kansas City. I mean, I really like this fight. Uh, Machado Garry versus Rakhmonov was a good fight. Is Carlos Prates that good? We're going to find out a lot in this fight about the future of this division, because right now it seems like it's Machado Garry and Shavkat who are on a collision course for the title one day. But you still got Bilal Muhammad. You got obviously the champ. Can anyone really beat him? You got Carlos Prates. You got a host of others in this division. So it's something to keep an eye on for sure. And we'll see if Machado Garry can pull it out. I'm not 100% convinced, but I wouldn't be if I went the other way either. I just think Machado Garry is just a little bit better. But we're going to find out on Saturday night. Highly entertaining main event.
You're watching the TCMMA podcast. And now, back to your host, Chris Cross.
What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking back in briefly, because we got all kinds of time right now. Anthony Smith literally just leaving the octagon. 10 minutes later, retirement fight. Nice send-off video. Walking out of the octagon, giving high fives and hugs to all the UFC fighters that are there who came out to support him. But we got some time here, so let's get into the UFC ESPN rights deal. We just put this out the other day, right? Who knows how this thing is going to shake out, but we still don't have an announcement. So let's get into it right now, and we'll come back here in just a few minutes for Ian Machado Garry and Carlos Prates. Stay tuned. Dana White addresses new UFC deal as exclusive negotiating window with ESPN is over. So things are happening right now in real time behind the scenes. Deals are being made, conversations are being struck, and I'm nervous. I'm as nervous as can be about this contract because ESPN isn't perfect, but I like my Saturday nights. And if anything changes, we'll have to adjust. Now, Dana White says when the window opens, we'll obviously start talking to lots of different people, and we'll see what the options are out there. This is, at the UFC 314 post-fight press conference, because he's being asked this because everyone knows the window for exclusivity with ESPN is over in the coming days. And at this point, it is now over. So it's wide open. He goes on to say, we've said this every time. There could be a time when we end up on several different networks like all other sports do. And I'm as nervous as can be. Number one, I haven't had cable since probably 2014, 2013, maybe even earlier than that. I mean, I've been on straight apps since that time. And if the UFC goes back to cable, that means I'm going to have to get cable. And I don't want to, I feel like that's going backwards. I don't want the UFC to end up on cable. So that's my biggest fear, is that happens. And then you got to go to let's just, we're just speculating here, but let's just say you got to go to Netflix to watch the Saturday night pay-per-view once a month. And then you got to go to TNT to watch 2 of the UFC fight nights each month. And then you got to go to Fox and watch 2 Fox Sports there and watch 2 that. It's just too much. Right now, everything is on ESPN. They got all the stats there in real time. Okay. Yeah, like Dana White went on to say too, there was a shaky start there at the beginning, but right now everything is perfect. It's in motion. And there are tough times of the year, like when college football starts. Okay. From the point where college football starts on Saturday nights in, let's just say, September, all the way till right now when college basketball just ended, you're still getting a lot of views, but you're in competition with other sports. But now from April all the way to September, the UFC basically has free reign on the weekends. I mean, UFC is number one, and it's year round. And that's what makes it a possibility for Netflix, who does not want a regular sports network coming in, because then it's just like for 4 or 5 months of the year, it's hot and then it's dead. And then you got to figure out what else to put on, right? It just doesn't work. UFC is year round like this, clockwork. So Netflix would like that. If Netflix got it, I could very easily see the UFC staying on Saturdays. But any number of things can happen, and we haven't been here since 2018 with the UFC. And I mean, you could end up with pay-per-views on Saturday nights. You could end up with UFC fight nights on a Tuesday, and then Thursday next week, and then Tuesday the following week, and it just anything can happen. And what I'm saying right now is, and this goes for coaching too. I'm a coach. I love all sports and will coach anything, but I especially love the sports that are like one game a week, right? Like football, track and field, and there's other sports that are like that too, but those are the two I can think of off the top of my head. Is it's like you can practice all week, boom, do the game, then you reset, you got a week of practice, then a game, and you get in a cycle of training that you can really build upon. That's what the UFC has been for me since 2018. Okay. So we know we got the fights on Saturday, we get the predictions done, and years later now, we're just in a perfect groove, and getting better and better at that, you know, week to week, getting ahead on. It's just been great that it's once a week. You can kind of reset and build back up. If they start going to multiple TV networks, multiple different days of fighting, um, I don't know if this is a great thing for the UFC. A lot more people are off on Saturday nights. I think Saturday night is the perfect night for the UFC. The UFC has grown exponentially since being with ESPN. So, do you really want to, as much as everyone says, do you really want to take a chance and leave there and you don't know what's going to happen? You got new partners. And the thing is TKO is over UFC, right? And they've already uh, signed WWE to Netflix, but then you got to go see, and then it's confusing because WWE's on Netflix for Monday Night Raw, and then you got to go over here to watch the pay-per-view, uh, or not the pay-per-view, but like the WrestleManias, the SummerSlam, and see all that moving around of different places. I'm not a big enough. I'm a fan of wrestling, but I'm not a big enough fan to where I'm going to be jumping to 8 different places to watch stuff, even if it's only two. And I fear that if the UFC does that, you're still going to have your hardcore fans like me follow you, but some of these casuals that you depend on that know, oh, okay, it's on ESPN tonight. They might even jump in for the last 3 fights or whatever. If it starts becoming in a bunch of different places, I think only the hardcore fans follow, and then you pick up a bunch of you expand the base, but do you expand the viewership? Maybe initially, yes, because it'll be heavily promoted. But after a while, it's like, a lot of people now have cable or don't. A lot of people that have cable don't really have the apps as much, especially the older generation. Um, the younger generation is mainly on the apps. So if you go to cable-based TV, are you going to lose the younger crowd? There's just so many things here to think about, and it will be interesting to see how this plays out. Like with WWE, okay, Mondays is on Netflix. Thursday Night Raw, I believe it's still Thursday night, or no, Monday Night Raw, Thursday Night SmackDown, and I think it's still on Thursday. If I'm wrong, then I just look crazy, but I don't follow it as much as the UFC. I don't even know where to go for Thursday Night SmackDown. I think it's still on USA, maybe, but you see all the problems with that. So like now I got to have uh, Netflix for Monday. I got to have, um, if it is USA network on Thursday, and then I got to go over to this other network for Saturdays every once in a while, and it's just too much, man. And I understand that that's a way to make more money, but you know, Someone like me, I'm not watching all the wrestling because of that. There's going to be, and I'm a casual wrestling fan. If it's big and it's in front of me, I'm going to watch it. If I have to go searching for stuff, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to probably put on a movie or some show and chill and watch that. So this is what I'm worried about when it comes to the UFC in terms of, yeah, you expand the fan base, but I think you lose a lot of people in the middle that are going to watch ESPN on some level. And I have a few friends that are like that, you know, like they may not watch the prelims every week, but they're going to jump in for the main card at some point. And, you know, if you got to have cable and 3 different apps and all this, I think there's going to be some of those people that would normally watch on ESPN that aren't going to watch because they're not just going to go searching for it like that. So and I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out, but I'm really worried about this one, man. I'm really worried about it. Yeah, so that was just a few days ago, and guess what? Nothing has changed. I mean, Netflix saying, you know, making it sound like they're not interested, but that might just be negotiating to lower the price, you know, try to bring the UFC back down to earth. I don't know. We'll see. But that's where it stands. Right now, Ian Machado Garry making his way toward the octagon. First thoughts, Carlos Prates looks pumped up. Guy's got 4 straight KOs. You know, the energy level that he's bringing in the octagon is interesting. Ian Machado Garry more reserved, taking his time getting to the octagon. You know, he's more level. He's not pumped up. He's not low. He's like right in the middle. And also, Carlos Prates, 100% takedown defense. So how's that going to play out? Because you know Ian Garry would like to get this fight to the ground. Or would he? Because you're in there against a Brazilian. So we'll see. Let me just pull up real quick to take down. Oh, okay. So Ian only gets 1 every 4 rounds. All right. Significant strikes, basically even. Prates, 3-inch reach advantage. See, and Ian Gary's at the point where he's getting better and better every fight. He's only 27. Prates right in the prime at 31. The guy's 21-6. Gary 15-1. So, you know, as I was coming out here, the fiance always says, you know, I think the UFC makes her stomach churn because, you know, I'm doing so much with the predictions and the podcast and I'm constantly busy with it and all that. But once in a while, she'll say, you know, how are the fights tonight? And I said, basically, all of them are average. I mean, they're all right. Some good fights. But the last one's the one I'm waiting for. And here we are. So everything is going our way. We're 12-1 on the night. We almost, I mean, this might be the farthest we ever gone towards a perfect night. 10 straight until Abus Magomedov ruined the night for us. Really, it's not his fault. Mikel Pineda ruined the night for whatever reason. He didn't look good at all. But at the end of the day, the main event is always the most important. So 12-1 means nothing right now because we're 6-7 on the year in the main event. This is a must win for us. Number 7 versus number 13. And here's Bruce Buffer. Fans on their feet for sure. This is a big one. I mean, this is a big fight. And it wasn't supposed to be the main event. But it is. Thing I like about Ian Gary is he sounds just like McGregor. When you get these Irish fighters, they kind of sound the same. It's awesome. And Carlos Prates is pumped up, but he's got to recognize how good that Ian Gary is. I mean, he just went toe to toe with Shavkat, who to me, well, I don't know. I mean, Bilal Muhammad's ridiculous right now. But to me, Shavkat's one of the best welterweights in the game. That's why we got him so highly ranked on the dude list. And Gary got beat, but he went in there and battled. And that might be a fight we'll see again if Ian Gary can get this win. Bruce Buffer doing his thing, getting the crowd hype. Yeah, and Prates still jumping around. I mean, he's got tons of energy. And I'm just hoping that this fight doesn't go 5 rounds. I'm in the mood for a finish, one way or the other. Prates known for getting finishes. And they're the Brazilians. You know there's always Brazilians in the house. What I always tell you, don't invite Brazil to the party. Don't invite Brazil to the party. That's what makes me nervous. But listen, Ian Garry 15-1, fighting out of Dublin. Gotta love that. And he's a slight favorite. He's 8-0 as a favorite. I love how these guys stand face to face with Bruce Buffer. It's funny. He's got to get Buffer fired up. Machado Garry. Let's get it. All right, so let's tune this thing up. Here we go. Main event, Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Huge welterweight showdown at UFC Kansas City, and we're here till this fight ends. Both guys staring each other down, and this thing's getting ready to kick off, and I doubt for 1 minute that we get a touch of the gloves. We'll see. Oh, and they do touch gloves. All right. Little respect. And here we go. When Carlos Prates is so tall and lanky, it's crazy. And there's definitely going to be a feeling out process. I mean, both these guys respect one another. 7 versus 13. Ian Garry has to fight down because he lost to Shavkat. He doesn't have to fight down. He took the fight on short notice, really. You got to credit him for that. I mean, you don't see a lot of top 10 contenders take a fight on short notice against a guy that's not going to help him in the rankings at all. It's really just work for Garry. And on the downside, if he loses the fight, he's going to drop to 8 or 9 for sure. No strikes landed yet. 1 minute gone. Ooh, nice leg kick by Garry. He's quick to get that leg up, man. Ian Garry flat-footed right now. Prates looking like he has more bounce in his step, which is really normal for both fighters. Neither guy really looking to go to the ground. Both guys want to stand and strike. Pretty much even on the feet. You can give a slight edge to Ian Garry. But even in a 25-minute fight, you're talking about 12 to 13 significant strike difference. I mean, it's very close. Throughout the fight, we'll keep you updated on the stats, assuming this fight gets out of round 1, which is no guarantee. Fans chant Garry, looking for the takedown. Remember, you're in there with a Brazilian with 100% takedown defense. He stuffs it. But Carlos Prates has the ability to land KOs at any time. But we know Ian Machado Garry is more well-rounded, more capable of going 5 rounds if necessary. Of course, we're hoping it doesn't go that long. But he's very capable of taking it that far if necessary. These guys are starting like it's 25 minutes. Like these guys are starting like they're expecting to go the distance. Nice leg kick up high by Garry. Garry looks for a takedown stuff by Prates. 0 for 2. Crouch and Garry, so it's clear what side they're on. You're always going to have some Brazilians in the house, though. Please believe it. Especially for Carlos Prates, who's a very good up-and-comer right now. Garry comes in with a left and a right. Prates covers up well. Now the Brazilian's rising up. Let's go Prates. And Prates is so good when Ian Garry tries to wrap him up. He's so good at slipping out. He's so good at stuffing the takedowns. You can tell he works on it. Under 40 seconds left in round 1. Ian Garry sliding really well, keeping Prates off balanced. Ooh, Prates slips. Ian Garry lands a big right and a left and another right. And a right to the body. And a leg kick. Big finish to the round for Ian Garry. And that'll do it. And Ian Garry helps him up. So a lot of respect from both these guys. You know, you see how focused Ian Garry is before the fight. Carlos Prates comes in. He's all fired up, jumping around in the octagon, singing to the cameras on the way out to the fight. And then the fight starts. And he settles in real quick. So all that energy is gone. And sometimes you see these 5-round fights, these main events, the guys start off really slow. And we discuss this all the time. I mean, once in a while you see a guy come out fast, you know. But a lot of times these guys feel each other out because in the back of their mind, I mean, you're human. You got to be like, this fight might go 25 minutes. I can't drain myself in the first round. And we're getting a look at the final 10 seconds of the round. And Ian Garry landed a big left, a big right, a right to the body. Then a leg kick up and down, right to the body. But Carlos Prates is fine. And we get an even start for round 2. And Ian Garry lands the first jab. Let's go. Yeah, we need Ian to win this fight, man. We got to get back to 7-7. Got to get back to 500. So people weighing in on Twitter saying 10-9, Ian Garry. Let me peek at the stats while we got a second here. Yeah, 19-6 in significant strikes. So he's just shutting Carlos Prates down. Ian Garry trying to get the takedown. He can't. So now he's 0 for 3. And Ian Garry's smiling. Both guys touch gloves. Ian standing right-handed. Prates right now standing left-handed. So those power punches are far away. They're both trying to figure it out. Being that most fighters are right-handed, lefties are used to it. Righties are not as much used to facing off against a lefty, right? You might get one every 5 or 6 fights, but it's not a regular situation. Boy, and Ian Garry really starting to utilize the leg kicks. 2 straight leg kicks. Now left over the top. As Carlos Prates covers up, Ian Garry's trying to go to the body. It's a smart decision. 3:10 left, round 2. And a nice leg kick up high. Now Prates responds with a right. But it's becoming clear, barring any big KO by Prates or anything like that, it's clear that Ian is just a machine in these fights. I mean, he takes your numbers and brings them way down, right? Not total shutdown, but I mean, Carlos Prates getting 6 significant strikes in 5 minutes. That's an average of like 1 per minute when he's used to getting 4 or 5 per minute. So, Ian Garry is really smart, doesn't put himself out there in bad situations, very defensively sound, slides out of dodge, and prevents you from landing anything big. Right now, he's up 28-11 in significant strikes. A little closer in this round, but Ian Garry's still doing a better job in the stand-up. And when you look on paper, you'd expect this to be a stand-up affair. Prates doesn't really go for many takedowns. He gets like 1 every 5 rounds. Ian Garry a little bit better. He gets like 1 every 4 rounds, so you'd figure he'll get a takedown in this fight. But Carlos Prates, 100% takedown defense. And Ian Garry grabs a leg, almost gets a takedown, and Carlos Prates gets back up. Very nearly gave up his first takedown in his career. Boy, Ian Garry just taking Prates out of this fight, at least right now. Prates walks Ian Garry back up into the fence, 45 seconds left, round 2. Ooh, nice leg kick up high. Prates in a little bit of trouble for a second. 30 seconds left in a round. See, Ian Garry can just do this for 5 rounds. I mean, the control is ridiculous. Spinning leg kick twice. Doesn't land on either one. Both guys smile, touch gloves, and they go to the corner. And it's like you want to see the toughness that Prates is walking out, that he has walking out to the octagon. He's got the hip hop playing. He's singing into the camera. He's all fired up. And then this fight starts, and he gets lulled right into Ian Garry's game. And it's like he's going to have to change things up and get more aggressive if he wants any chance of winning this fight. Ian Garry up 45-13 in significant strikes. So Prates literally has landed 13 strikes in 10 minutes. So right now, Ian Garry just pulling away on him. It's as simple as that. And Prates just has to get more aggressive. I mean, if he doesn't get more aggressive, this fight's going to slip away quick. And if he doesn't win this round, he'll be facing a situation where he needs a finish, which he's very capable of doing, but he'll need a finish to win the fight. And eventually, late round 4, round 5, you're just going to see Ian Garry just get more and more defensive because he's going to have the fight wrapped up. Nice leg kick to the body by Prates. And I'm sure Gary's going to respond here in a second. There it is. Fans getting a little frustrated. They should, because this entire card, 14 fights worth, has just been exciting from beginning to end. I mean, it started out with 4 straight finishes to start the night. So these fans are getting used to seeing big things happen. And you get in a fight like this where Ian Garry, it's a slow paced fight. Ian Garry's more control and defensive. You know, he's landing at a decent rate, but he just, really slows down his opponents. Carlos Prates having all types of trouble trying to figure this out. And you say, how can Prates get all these KOs and he gets in there against Ian Garry? And so far, early in the third, he's just laying an egg. And that's because Ian Garry has the ability to keep you off balance. He lands leg kicks, he feints, he slides, and he's not standing in one spot too long. And Ian Garry desperately wants his takedown. He almost gets it. Prates gets out of it pretty quick. But even that lets Prates know, hey, I got to be thinking about it. You got to be thinking about the takedown. Even if Garry never lands it, he's doing enough to make him think about it. 4 or 5 attempts now. 2 minutes gone, round 3. And neither fighter has landed anything big that would make you say, oh, this fight could potentially come to an end. I mean, it looks more like a boxing match with a little bit of kicking. Oh, big left. As soon as I say that, Prates is on the run. Took a nice left upper from Ian Garry. And Ian Garry's starting to open up now. Question is, does Ian Garry want to finish? Will he go for it? Right? You're dominating the fight. And at some point, it's just like, oh, there's a takedown. First takedown given up by Carlos Prates. And Ian Garry maintains the average, 1 takedown every 4 rounds. Now it'll get interesting. You're on the ground with a Brazilian. Prates got a full guard right now. Now Ian Garry stands up. And Prates hates that. I mean, these guys live for stuff like that. He knows that he's never given up a takedown, so it's already in his mind. He's back to his feet for now. Ian Garry trying to take him back down. Now Prates turns Ian Garry. Forces him back into the fence, 1:15 left. Round 3. Ian Garry, in terms of the numbers and winning this fight, is in total control right now. But for the moment, Prates has him backed up. Ian Garry lands a big right, and he slides out. Nice left by Prates. Tell you what, things are opening up. These guys are traded a lot more right now. So Garry, 16. Here's the first 3 rounds: 16-4, 29-9, 20-6 in significant strikes. He's just dominating. Now Ian Garry lands a second takedown. Wow. And that'll do it for round 3. And it's not like it's a boring fight, but it's, unless Carlos Prates lands something out of nowhere, it just seems like Ian Garry's just having a good old time. Like he's in the gym, chilling. And it doesn't seem like there's any fear of getting hit with something big by, from Carlos Prates. So Carlos Prates now, like we said at the beginning of the round, now finds him in himself in a situation where The early rounds, the feeling out process, all that is over. Ian Garry is dominating you. You have no choice but to go for a finish. I mean, absolutely no choice but to go for the finish. Oof. That upper was nice, man. Looking back around 3. And then boom, Ian Garry shoots in just like a football player, head on the hip, lifts the hips, easy takedown. Round 4's underway. A nice leg kick to the body by Ian Garry to start the round. And I have a feeling we're just going to see this for the next 9 minutes. I mean, Ian Garry will continue landing. Prates may look a little better because Ian Garry will start to back off. I mean, he's the type of guy that will keep a lot of pressure on. But it's not going to be the type of pressure that you're going to allow yourself to get potentially KO'd. And Carlos Prates is getting outclassed right now. But keep in mind, in a fight, as you all know, anything can happen. The fight is never over till it hits zeros. Straight leg kick by Ian Garry. And he looks for the takedown, almost gets it. And Ian Garry continuing to outpace Prates, looking for his 3rd takedown. But for now, he just drives Prates back into the fence. He's looking to try to take that leg out, and he does. Wow. So 3 takedowns for Ian Garry. So think about that. You're getting in there with a Brazilian. You've never had more than 2 takedowns. And in this fight, you get 3 takedowns on Carlos Prates. So he's just showing how well-rounded his game is. If this keeps up, obviously, it's highly likely that him and Shavkat will have a rematch at some point in time. And it could very well be for the title if Shavkat can beat Bilal, which is going to be no easy feat. Ian Garry nearly slips against the fence. Now he backs out, slides out, and gets back to the free space. 2:15 left in a round. And Prates just can't get anything going. I mean, nothing. 86-24 in significant strikes. Ian Garry putting on a clinic. And remember, coming in, these guys had nearly identical numbers. And Ian Garry really is about on his average, right? Doing a little bit better with the takedown game, but he's on his average in terms of striking. Prates way down. And we've seen this from a lot of fighters, like especially Israel Adesanya when he was in his prime. Big left by Prates. Be careful, Ian. But is he in his prime? Could just take you out of the fight. John Jones is the same way. Whatever your average coming in, you know, when we're doing predictions, we're always looking at the averages. But you get a few fighters out there that you always have to remember. It doesn't matter what the average is for them or for their opponent. That number's coming way down. And those guys usually keep their numbers, like Ian Garry's doing here. But he's got to be careful. Prates starting to pick it up now. And round 5 is going to be rough because Prates starting to open up a little bit. Oh, and he lands a right and left, and Ian Garry just smiles. Sometimes when guys smile, it really hurt. An interesting thing here going into round 5. We're in the final 15 seconds as Ian Garry's starting to get tired, and Prates now knows he has nothing to lose. So it's going to be a wild 5th round. As Ian Garry looked like he's in a little bit of trouble over the last 2 minutes of the 4th. So stay tuned. Carlos Prates keeping the pressure on. Oh boy. Oh boy. There's a nice upper by Garry, who's pinned Prates up against the fence. And you know what Garry wants right now is just to keep body on body. Right? You don't want to be in space with Carlos Prates down the stretch when he's got nothing to lose. Now Garry lets up, he backs off. Oh boy. Got to be careful here. Now Ian Garry get more aggressive, and that's really what you got to do. Keep the pressure on. Remind your opponent how we got here. Oh. Oh no. Carlos Prates gets on top. Ian Garry going in for a takedown. He finds himself on his back. Not the place you want to be with a Brazilian, but right now you got 110 left. Oh boy. Oh boy. Carlos Prates pounding away with the hammer, and Ian Garry's in trouble right here. He's not really like in trouble, but it's one of those things where the ref could stop it if you're not careful. And Ian Garry knows that, so he keeps squirming around. He's just getting tired. And right now he's got Carlos Prates' leg. He's on the ground. Carlos Prates trying to get on top. Boy, and Ian Garry is literally holding on here. I mean, can you imagine the ref would not want to stop this fight knowing he's winning? 20 seconds left. Carlos Prates on the back of Ian Garry. And he was a couple strikes away from getting the ref to really take a look at it towards stopping the fight. But Ian Garry looks like he's going to survive. There's 5 seconds left. Ian Garry is absolutely gassed. And that'll do it. That'll do it. So Ian Garry is going to get a big, big victory here. We're going to be 7-7. And Ian Garry goes down to his knees, trying to get Carlos Prates to go down with him, but he won't. But a big, big fight for both these guys, but mainly Ian Machado Garry. Wow. Wow. Yeah, so that's the way this thing goes. Let's look at the stats while we await the absolute final verdict, right? You're looking at 111 to 51 in significant strikes. Carlos Prates actually closed the gap there in round 3. Head strike 68 to 39. Control time 309 to 142 for Ian Garry. Takedowns 4 to 0. So at the end of the day, and especially through the first 4 rounds, Ian Garry dominated. I don't even see how you can give round 4 to Prates, but if you did, it's still 48, 47. So it's going to be an easy victory for him. We're going to stick around until we get the decision. I think only once ever did we end early because we're like, this fight is obvious for this fighter. Boom. Unanimous decision. Obviously, we called it. We're out of here. And we find out that it went the other way, which is terrible. So we'll never do that again. Let's just say that. We will never do that again. All right, here we go with the decision. Ian Machado Garry, Carlos Prates. Both guys coming together. Bruce Buffer giving us a decision. 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46. So 2 judges gave Carlos Prates round 4. That's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, the future Ian Machado Garry gets the win. And his kid just found out he won, and he's smiling like crazy. He's probably 4, 5, 6. No, not 6. Probably 4 or 5. So unbelievable win for him. We're back to 7-7. And man, 13-1 on the night. 13. We literally. This is the closest we've ever been to a perfect night. I mean, we've been 11-1 before, but 13-1 is crazy. And Abu Magomedov, you ruined our perfect night. Well, really not Abu, Mikel Pereira. But the bottom line is, we didn't get the perfect night we really hoped for. But what we did get is a big main event win. We're back to 7-7, and we live for next week. And it's going to be a big one. I can't wait. Davis and Figueiredo going to be fighting. So stay tuned for that. But it's a wrap here. That's how it goes. Welterweight division, UFC, Kansas City.